Now, most people think of leopard geckos as cute little animals, but they have been known to bite their owners. In this video, I'll talk about all the reasons why this would ever happen. Now, you guys might have noticed that my microphone quality today is super trash, and that is because I actually wasn't able to get my regular microphone working. Right now I'm using the built-in internal microphone, which is, it's pretty bad, so just bear with me here. Alright, let's start off with number 1. Now, the most common reason I've ever heard of for leopard gecko biting their owner is because they mistook the hand for food. Now, this usually happens if you hand feed your gecko a lot, and they'll come to associate your hand with food. And that, it is kind of nice to bond with your gecko by feeding it with your hand, but again, I don't recommend this simply because of the fact that your leopard gecko will associate your hand with food, and this leads to really bad things happening. Like, for example, if it's hungry and you stick your hand in there, it'll think your hand coming in means it's getting food. And it might, bite your fingers thinking that it's like a cricket or something, or that it's food that it can consume, even though it's obviously not. Now, if your gecko does have this problem where it associates your hand with food, what I would do personally is stop hand feeding him or her, and then use something else to consistently feed it, like every time. For example, you can use a pair of metallic tweezers or something, and so it'll associate that with food. And because of this new, link, it'll forget about your hand being food. And in a few weeks, I guess you could stick your hand in there even when it's hungry, and your leopard gecko will stop biting you. And that brings us to the second most common reason for a leopard gecko to bite someone, and that is when they're just feeding and when they're really hungry. So once they start feeding, right, my gecko at least goes in this sort of hunting mode where her eyes just expand and her tail starts wagging, and she stalks her prey. And while she's doing this, if the prey suddenly makes a run for it and she's chasing it and your hands get in the way, in the confusion sometimes she'll mistake random objects for the cricket or whatever she's chasing, and she'll bite that. For example, one time there was this cricket and it was stuck like underneath one of the hides, and I didn't think the gecko would be able to reach the cricket, so I tried to get in there with my tweezers and remove the cricket. And while I was doing this, my gecko, Godzilla, actually just bit the tweezers, thinking it was the cricket moving or something. Now, the best and probably only way to avoid getting bit in this way is simply to avoid sticking your hand into the enclosure when your gecko is feeding. Now, the third reason why your gecko would bite you is probably because your gecko is scared. For example, if it's hiding in its, favorite hide and you just randomly lift it up and move to the side, then your gecko could get spooked, and then if you try to handle it at this point, then it could bite you. Now, a good way to tell if your gecko is scared is if it, first of all, if it arches its back, kind of like a cat does, and then if it waves its tail vertically, like in the air. And this is different from when it waves its tail side to side when it's hunting. This is when it's hard. I'll try to see if I can get a clip to show you guys later, but basically it's when it raises its tail completely vertically and waves it, at a 90-degree angle from the ground. Now, if you do notice that your gecko is spooked like this, well then it's best probably not to handle it or even disturb it, and just let it be for maybe a minute or so until it stops this scared behavior, and then you can try to handle it or feed it or whatever you were trying to do before. Well, those are the 3 main reasons why a gecko would bite you, and if you have any more from personal experience or that you've heard of, well, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and yeah, I guess that's it. If you're a long-time subscriber, you might have noticed that I changed my intro, and I'd really like feedback on that if you guys think the new one is better or worse, and yeah, just leave that in the comments down below. So if you enjoyed this video or found it useful in any way, hopefully you'll leave a like and subscribe, even though the audio was really bad and I didn't really have a lot of time to make this, but I did still try to make it as useful as possible with the given time constraints. Well, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Bye!